Hey everybody, it's the Combatcast with the man they call Dave and Chevy. And my voice might be hurting a little bit today. I got whatever Chevy had last week, although Chevy was manly enough not to actually mention it. I'm going to mention it. So we're going to talk. Obviously, the majority of stuff we'll talk about will be the UFC 288 pay-per-view and some of the stuff coming out of that. But Chevy, why don't you tell people what we got coming up?
All right, changing fight again. We seem to be making changes every week now, but next week's fight will now be May 20th, UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Hill. That's a pretty good matchup. I'm not sure what the rest of the card looks like, but that's what we're getting. So
that's what you're getting.
Yeah, June 3rd, we will be talking about UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Silva. I'm excited for Brendan Allen. Tough matchup for him. And then June 10th, UFC 289, Nunes versus Aldana. Aldana got moved to that fight Pena had to pull out, so we're getting a different matchup.
Yeah, I mean, this is Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush on this card.
On the Nunes card?
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good co-main. I'm more excited for that than the main event.
I was too. I was like, I don't know what's really going to draw my attention, but the fact they got that fight makes it a little more worthwhile. Yeah, it's interesting. I see Dan Ige on the card against Nate Landwehr.
That's a fight.
Chris Dawkins versus Khalil Roundtree. So there's some interesting ones here.
So it's just a shitty main event, really.
Yeah, I mean, unless Aldana, I will say this, like, I almost like Aldana better than the Pena fight because of how much Nunes really outclassed Pena last time. It really came off like she just didn't train hard enough the first time.
Yeah,
and at least
overlooked her.
Yeah, this looks like a different fight at least. But again, Nunes has looked so good that I don't know. It's almost hard to get up for these fights right now. You know, like we talked about this a little bit. There's no offense to her. Like I'd rather either somebody surprise upsets her or she just fades off in the sunset right now because like her hold on that division is definitely tight.
Right. It's hard to get up when every great fight in that division, you're like, well, they're not beating Amanda, you know, it kind of kills any hype, but
that's what we were with Shevchenko for a long time.
That's where we were with Ronda.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah. That could be the one. You want to talk a little one championship before we get
started? One championship had their first event in the United States. They had it in Colorado on Friday night. I just wanted to mention that I thought that first of all, the card had all finishes except for the main event, DJ versus Moraes 3, which DJ won a close decision, but there was all finishes before that. I loved the grappling match. It was basically all finishes. There's one other decision as well, but I mean, Stamp Fairtex kicked a girl so hard she broke her ribs. It was just excellent card. Great pacing as well. I thought they did a much better job than the UFC did this week. So shout out to them. I definitely am into watching one championship on Amazon for free, instead of paying $85 or whatever it is for a UFC pay-per-view these days. But
yeah, no doubt. I mean, UFC, it's like, I think they would benefit from less shows. Like this, we have to have a pay-per-view every month is what kind of makes it tough. Like if we had even like we got scaled down to like 8 shows a year, I think it would be a bigger difference.
We had such a good run of fights for a long time, a few months back, and now we're seeing the opposite. We're getting all the watered down fights, which is what happens. You have you can only have so many stars in a promotion. They can't all fight every week. So you end up getting like the, like next week's card where you get, one good fight and then a couple fights that casuals don't know about or whatever. Only hardcores are going to know about. They're good matchups, but no names and stuff like that. So I think you're right. Maybe if they cut down the roster a little bit and beefed up some of these cards and had less of them, it'd be a better product for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's oversaturation. Maybe not even. Well, yeah, there's definitely oversaturation. That might be another problem, but also just trying to fill out these cards, and you're gonna get injuries and stuff too.
And also pacing too. They're never gonna do this, but on a pay-per-view card, you're not filling a time slot.
Right.
You already have these people's money. Like, I don't need to see a promo video for the next fight. Like, you already have my money. I paid to watch the fight. Like, just bring the people out. That's never going to happen because, fighters have to warm up and, all sorts of production issues. But
again, even if we could do that last,
yeah,
maybe just have it for the main and the co. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need it for every single fight.
We literally get a promo video, like 3-minute long promo video before the main event every single pay-per-view. Like, we don't need it. I'm already hyped for the fight. Trust me. We've been talking about it for over a week.
I guess it's maybe thinking out loud now. Maybe it's just, it's the alternative to dead air, right? Or just having Rogan and Cormier and everybody, John Anik, like try to like talk.
Just have them ready. Just have the guys ready to come out.
Yeah,
just have them ready.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's
a problem we got to deal with, I guess. So
let's talk about it. Let's talk about UFC 288, huh?
All right, so let's go through the main card. We're gonna start off with.
You want to talk that prelim fight though?
Matt Frivola knocked out Granite Chin Drew Dober.
Impressive.
It was so impressive. It was excellent. That probably should have been on the main card. But what a way to get people to buy the pay-per-view, I guess. If that was their goal, they probably succeeded. So shout out to Matt Frivola. Bummer for Drew Dober. He thought it was a little bit early of a stoppage, but I mean, he was flatlined for a second there. So
yeah, I mean, I think he was understood eventually, but it's just one of those things where he knows that he can fight through adversity because he's done it before.
Absolutely.
But that's not the ref's job. The ref shouldn't give a shit that you can fight through adversity. His job is to are you, intelligently defending yourself in the moment. What does it look like to him to the best of his abilities? So.
Right. He can't know the threshold for knockout for every fighter in every promotion, So
and it changes.
Right. Exactly.
Goes on too. Yeah.
So shout out to Matt Frivola. Drew Dober will be back. Of course, that fight was exciting. It was always going to be exciting. But let's move on to the main card. A fight that was not exciting. Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain.
Jourdain just looked like the better all-around MMA fighter here. I think we kind of thought that going in might be what happens here. I mean, we like Kron. We said he has submissions chance, and he did. I mean, as much as like that at times, like he would try to get some, but Jourdain was just competent enough. It's not like he was going to win a jiu-jitsu match, but he was competent enough in the realm of an MMA fight to get himself out of dangerous situations and then keep it standing and being able to do other things. And I mean, we kind of just saw this recently. It wasn't jiu-jitsu, but with wrestling with Charles Rosa Jr., when he fought somebody else who was just a competent MMA fighter all around. He wasn't necessarily a better wrestler, but he could get out of those situations and then eventually enforce his will. And that's what Charles Jourdain did here. I don't know. I mean, maybe it just was some old school fight that went like 7-10 rounds. You're like, man, Kron Gracie choked him out in round 9, right? But it's not the rules, and I think we're better off that it's not the rules. It's probably more of an exciting sport. So, but yeah, Charles Jourdain just all around looked like the better fighter.
Yeah, I guess Kron didn't work on his striking in the last 3 years that he was off, or he just not interested in using it. But either way, he shouldn't be in the UFC, not fighting like that. I'm surprised if he makes it on the main card of a pay-per-view again, especially fighting like that. I don't think Dana was impressed. But shout out to Charles Jourdain. He looked great back in the win column, did what he needed to do. I'm sure he wishes he could have got the finish, but he had a few losses in a row, so a win was the most important thing.
I'm blanking out. Who's the guy that you like a lot that's a big jiu-jitsu ace guy?
Ryan Hall.
What division does he fight at?
Same division, featherweight.
You could do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, people are talking about it, but Ryan does scoot around on his butt a lot, but he also throws in those Imanari rolls, which are, exciting if they're not done every 2 seconds. And he also is so unafraid to go to the ground that he'll throw all these spinning hook kicks and all that and stuff. Kron had zero interest in fighting.
No, I favor Hall.
Yeah.
But it's probably the best stylistical matchup for Kron, given that Hall is just so willing to go to the ground.
It's the only person that's not going to beat him up on the feet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let's move on. Movsar Evloev versus Diego Lopez. This was a sleeper fight.
Yeah, Diego Lopez came to fight. So much so Dana gave him his win bonus as well as his show business, and they both got fighted tonight too.
Yep,
so,
got paid.
Good on him, and he earned it. Like, he fought so hard on short notice, and he had a couple of deep submissions in there, and he was good on his feet too. But Movsar was just every bit up for it, man. You can see why this guy's undefeated. He's a guy, Movsar, that is, that with that undefeated record, I could see him getting a big fight next. But I was thinking, you know what? Just the timing of it all after this weekend, maybe him and Charles Jourdain should fight each other. Same weight class. Jourdain's, fought some quality competition as well. And I'd say why rush Movsar at this point too?
Yeah, it's a great matchup. Evloev did get the decision as I predicted, but the story of the fight obviously was Diego. What a performance! I mean, he really went in there and showed that he belongs in the UFC with this determination. He wasn't afraid to take the fight anywhere with Movsar, who is a very, very dangerous guy, as you said, undefeated. He gave Movsar all he could handle. So props to him. Props to Movsar for, maybe taking him a little bit lately, but then being able to make adjustments and he got out of that knee bar. That was tough. Props to both guys. They deserved fight of the night. I'm really glad that Diego got paid, and I bet he gets a favorable fight next. All right, let's move on to Jessica Andrade versus Yan Zhao.
Yan, really impressive here. Another one who just kind of surprised us with a performance and a quick knockout over Andrade. Did not see this coming. Who did see it coming apparently was Freddie Roach, who was next to Dana White, and apparently he told Dana, if Andrade keeps throwing those leaping hooks like she's doing from below that, like Yan is really good at hitting those straight jabs and those straight punches, and she's going to knock her out. And, well, he called it. I think they kind of hinted at it. I don't know if in the world now what it's like over there in China, but I think if they could do a title fight with Yan in China, that could be big business for them.
That absolutely has to be next versus Weili. I was definitely not right about this one. I didn't realize Yan had the power to put Jessica to sleep out like that. So she just caught her chasing like Stipe did to Verdun back in the day.
Right.
She was just rushing in, no respect for Jan's power, and she paid for it. So good on Yan. Jessica, another one she's going to be upset about for sure. So good luck to the next girl that fights her. I bet she fights a little bit more intelligently.
Yeah.
All right, co-main event: Bilal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns.
Muhammad just looks like the better fighter all around here, but maybe some of that had to do with Burns. He injured his shoulder on that takedown. Burns is fighting most of this fight with one arm. But maybe some of this had to do with the quick turnaround too. Gilbert's body not peaking. Overall, it wasn't like a crazy exciting fight, but it just, it wasn't like anything bad. But I just thought Bilal Muhammad just looked like the better all-around fighter on this night. I'd be interested if Burns was able to not have such a short turnaround. But then again, Bilal took this fight during Ramadan too. So, good on him. Good on Muhammad. And without hearing when Kobe has his next title shot, I am starting to wonder if Bilal will end up with the next title shot, maybe in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give Bilal the title shot after that performance. He would have needed to knock out or put Gilbert to sleep, I think. But I did call that Bilal would grind out a boring fight, but I didn't think it was going to be a striking match like that. I thought there was going to be a lot of clinching and grappling. But good on Bilal. He landed a lot of real heavy body kicks to Burns too, which I was impressed with. That's a new element he's added to his game for sure. So good on Bilal. I love watching him fight. He seems to get a lot of hate online, but people are haters online. So shout out to Bilal. I'm a fan of the guy.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that Burns got hurt because that affected the fight so much. Would have been a completely different fight. I'm not saying that the outcome would have been different, but the actual fight would have been different. So
I think he should wait for a title shot at this point, though. I mean, they might.
He called out either Colby or Leon. So if Leon wants to sit and not fight, he said he wanted to take some time. I don't know how much time, but maybe Colby and Bilal is the fight. We'll see.
Yeah, and you got Shavkat in the background there too. At some point, somebody's going to probably have to take that fight that they don't want to, and that guy's a straight killer. So
yeah, I think Usman should fight him, but Usman apparently is trying to chase Hazmat up to 185 or something. I don't know. Or at a catch weight. Dana was like, no, we're not doing that. So
yeah, Hazmat actually just went online too and said, I don't know why I'm training so hard. Like, I want all these fights. I don't know what's going on. And he mentioned the middleweight, but he mentioned a bunch of welterweights too. So I know why they don't want to give him the welterweight fight. He missed it by 8 pounds, but
yeah,
he seems to be in denial about that.
Yeah. They got to get him somebody. Somebody has to fight the guy. I mean, he can't just sit. He's such a moneymaker for them right now. Like, they just got to figure it out. But all right, let's talk about the main event: Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo.
This was an interesting fight in the sense that I thought Sterling won. I know some people thought Cejudo won. I think the majority thought Sterling won, but it was a close fight. But it wasn't a fight I walked away where I really had a clear-cut winner. No, let me rephrase that. It wasn't a fight I watched where I thought, oh, wow, Sterling would win this fight 9 out of 10 times.
Right.
I watched this fight and I thought Sterling did enough to win on this night. They seemed very evenly matched, even to the point when the corners, when you look at them in between rounds, both corners trying to encourage them, but, both seemed frustrated and realized that, like, nobody was really getting a clear cut on striking or wrestling. Aljamain should be happy he got the win, and you also were able to hang wrestling-wise with an Olympic gold medalist. So
took him down like 4 times.
Yeah, so awesome performance. You got your Sean O'Malley fight now, which
that's money. That's a big money fight for him.
It's a big money fight for him, right? And a stylistic fight that definitely favors him. And then Cejudo, who looked like he was going to retire, now apparently wants to fight Merab, and Merab's all for it, which I'm super excited about that fight. That fight makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that fight. That is the toughest stylistic matchup for Merab. Henry might be the only person outside of Aljamain that could beat Merab in the division, I think. So I'm very excited for that fight. So as far as the Aljo and Henry fight, Henry didn't look like he ever got into his old rhythm, but that could have been any number of things. The layoff, his age, or the fact that Aljo is just that good. He doesn't really get the respect that he deserves, I think. But
no, definitely not.
Yeah, he, not always the most exciting. He does what he needs to do to win, a la GSP kind of thing. I just don't think that he gets the respect he deserves. So shout out to Aljo. Also, he's a killer. It was a bummer for me when he won and people in New Jersey, right next to his home, are booing him like that. That was a bummer, but fuck New Jersey. That place smells bad,
Yeah, no, me too. I just think that he's a smart kid. When you talk about, like, he wants to have a rum line or something coming out, and he's talking to people like Connor about stuff like that,
Yeah.
It's like this kid's smart. Like he's trying to prepare for after fighting, and he's trying to get the big fights as big as he can get. And he's carved off a good path for himself. So I'm excited. I think he'll probably beat O'Malley, but I will say this. O'Malley is one of those guys that keeps impressing me every time I see him, in the sense that like he looks like he's getting better. Like his performance against Jan, even if you didn't think he won that fight, was the best Sean O'Malley we had ever seen. And now he's taken more time off. And I think he's the kind of guy that just keeps working at it and studying film. And so it'll be an interesting fight, but it's hard for me to believe that he'll be able to make that leap to overcome Aljamain in that wrestling department.
I would definitely I would favor Aljo, but people talk about Sean O'Malley's jiu-jitsu and how it's so great. We haven't really seen it at all. We absolutely will see it in this fight with Aljo. It makes sense with him being so long to use those limbs in jiu-jitsu, but we haven't seen it. So he'll definitely be dangerous on the feet because he's so long, but we're going to find out about his grappling for sure in that fight. Also, highlight of the entire card for me was when Sean O'Malley came into the octagon and gave his jacket to Merab. Merab put the jacket on. That was the highlight of the night. He put that jacket on looking like Michael Jackson or whatever, get up on the cage. But shout out to Merab for sure. He's
smart.
He's hilarious.
I like this.
Yeah. Let's talk about this week's fights. We're just gonna go over the co-main event and main event. Yeah. Shout out to Ian Garry is fighting Daniel Rodriguez on this card too. Yeah. That's a good one to keep an eye out for. But this card is definitely for hardcores. Casuals aren't going to know anyone on this card, so a bit soft, but should be matchup wise pretty good card. Yeah. But let's talk about Anthony Smith versus Johnny Walker.
Walker 20-7, 16 KOs, 3 subs, 1 decision. So there you go. Right, he's only gone to this distance once. And all his victories. Anthony Smith, 36-17, 20 KOs, 14 subs, 2 decisions. So only 2 decision ones. So this is probably going to get a finish. This could have light heavyweight championship implications, because the light heavyweight championship is definitely wide open right now with injuries and stuff. You don't know. I like Anthony Smith. I could see Walker catching him. He's got that kind of power, but I would favor Anthony Smith here just because of the experience.
How do you think he gets it done?
He'll wear him down. He'll survive. He'll bring him down, and then ground and pound. I could see a submission, but he's going to
finishes him on the ground somewhere. Yeah. Well, I think Anthony is a bit too inconsistent for his skill level, for sure. At his best, he should dominate Walker, but he just gets caught sometimes. And Walker is not the person that you want to get caught by, for sure. No. But I'll say that Anthony, manages to do well. And I'm going to go for Smith by decision, even though neither one of these guys gets decisions. I'm just feeling it. Maybe a good war back and forth, but I think Johnny Walker's been improving enough where he'll be able to last to the end of the fight. All right, main event, Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Jailton Almeida.
Almeida's 18-2, 7 KOs, 11 submissions. All right, so he's never gone the distance in any of his victories. He's 4-0 in the UFC. Rozenstruik is 13-4, 12 KOs. So he's only gone to decision 1. So again, 2 more finishers. So I don't think this will go to the decision. I'm going to go with Almeida. I think Almeida will get it done. I think both these guys like to strike, but Almeida's a little bit better submission-wise. And I think he'll find a way. Again, maybe similar how I see Smith doing it. He's probably going to get him to the ground at some point, and it might be a ground and pound TKO, but I think we'll get a submission here.
Yeah, Rozenstruik wins if he fights another kickboxer other than Gane. But Almeida is a grappler with power, so yeah. I think he gets him down and he just smashes him. Almeida round 2 sub, I'm going to go with.
Yeah, So yeah, I'll agree with round 2. I didn't pick a round, but yeah,
Yeah.
round 2 sounds good. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, I think this is going to be, even though we didn't spend too much time, I think this will be a fun little card this weekend. I think stylistically,
It's also early. It's a 3 p.m. Eastern card. We didn't mention that, but
nice.
shout out to the UFC. We love those.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What's the people we got coming up one more time?
All right, May 20th, Fight Night Dern versus Hill. That's a fun matchup. And then June 3rd, UFC Fight Night Allen versus Silva, middleweight matchup. And then June 10th, UFC 289 Nunes versus Aldana, but we only care about all the rest of the fights on that card.
That's right. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week talking more combat sports. Appreciate you.